Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Wednesday, August 6th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. In recent years, California has laid out different strategies as it seeks to transition to cleaner, greener energy.
A big part of California's leadership in renewable energy has been the push for rooftop solar energy.
But that has slowly been changing. We hear how solar is losing its popularity in the state. But first, these news headlines. California state lawmakers met in the past few days to negotiate new congressional maps. It's a major step forward for Governor Gavin Newsom's controversial redistricting plans. A source in the legislature says lawmakers are considering a redraw that would allow Democrats to pick up 5 to 6 seats. Those new maps would be sent to voters during a possible special election in November. Redrawing the lines could determine control of the U.S. House following the midterms.
And we have the opportunity to de facto end the Trump presidency in less than 18 months. That's what's at stake.
Good government advocacy groups, including Common Cause and the League of Women Voters, have criticized Newsom's plan. They argue it's not transparent because the maps won't be drawn in a public forum. Supervisors in Fresno County are debating which holidays county staff can recognize in the calendar year. KVPR's Samantha Rangel reports the debate has sparked controversy.
The controversy stems from an idea by one supervisor that says county staff must seek board approval to recognize holidays that aren't officially adopted by the county. Supervisors voted 3-2 on Tuesday to advance the measure, but the policy will still come back to the board for further clarification. Supervisor Gary Bredfeld brought the measure forward. He has gotten criticism from the LGBTQ community, which says the board approval process targets occasions like Pride Month. But Bredfeld says county workers should not use public funds for what he considers, quote, political ideologies. This issue also stems from June, when county staff distributed rainbow-colored condoms. With KVPR News, I'm Samantha Rangel.
Thousands of people in California without legal status are set to lose their health coverage at the end of the month. About 2,300 people under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, known as DACA, will lose their covered California plans, according to a recent CalMatters report. Without access to the marketplace, many DACA recipients might be left without health insurance, and many may not qualify for Medi-Cal. The changes come amid shifting policies towards healthcare coverage for immigrants without legal status. Covered California says it's working to notify affected individuals before the August 31st cutoff date. Fresno State's rolling out a new way for the public to support its athletics. The so-called Valley Co-op allows donors to contribute funds to specific sports teams. The funds would support things such as travel, nutrition, and athlete development. The project was spurred by a recent $1 million donation to the university's football program. It came from the Diamond Learning Center and alumni Jamie Hamill de la Cerda. The Valley Co-op strategy also comes as the university gains new attention as it prepares to enter the Pac-12 athletic conference.
Summer is in full force, and at KVPR that means the $10,000 drawing is back. Thanks to our sponsors, Fresno Mazda and Fresno Mitsubishi, for providing the $10,000 grand prize for our annual fundraiser. Buy your tickets today. They're $100 each and limited to 800 sold. Find $10,000 drawing contest rules and details at kvpr.org/10K.
And now to our main story. Rooftop solar seems to be a common sight everywhere you look, now more than ever, especially in sunny California and even inland in the Central Valley, where the summers really show out. For a while, it seemed rooftop solar was proliferating, but new reporting from Mother Jones says it's now on the decline. Last year, rooftop solar sales were the lowest they had been in a decade. and that could be by design. In 2022, the California Public Utility Commission slashed the subsidized amount that consumers receive when they install solar, which disincentivized people. Then, last year, Governor Newsom, who used to support rooftop solar, started singing a different tune. He said it was actually driving up energy prices. Critics contested those comments and pointed to the fact that rooftop solar allows everyday people to generate energy and, in turn, reduce their reliance on utility companies. That obviously affects the utilities' bottom line, and those companies have shareholders who'd like to see a return on their investment. So what is the status of this conflict within the renewable energy space, and how could the governor's position on solar influence where we are today? To break this down, we're joined by Henry Carnell. He's a reporter with Mother Jones who recently published an investigation titled, "Why is Governor Gavin Newsom Blocking Rooftop Solar in California?" To start off, Henry paints us a picture of the green energy landscape in the state.
So the national average of renewables, so that's like wind and solar, is 20%, and California comes in at 45%. Including other clean energy like hydroelectric, you all are bumped up to 67%. So really a
Wow.
clear leader nationally, up there with Washington and Texas in terms of clean energy generation, and has been a leader for many years. A big part of California's leadership in renewable energy has been the push for solar energy, rooftop solar energy. There's been a campaign for 20 years to get solar on Californian rooftops called 1 million solar roofs. Recent policy changes over the last 5 years or so have disincentivized putting solar on roofs, and that has led to a slump in some adoption. And critics are saying that this is bad for the larger scale transition to a renewable energy system.
And what are some companies that people might be familiar with when we talk about large-scale solar projects?
So the grid in California is managed by investor-owned utilities, many of which now have invested in these large-scale solar and other renewable energy projects like large-scale solar. And so these are the people you're used to buying your energy from. So that would be Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, Southern California and Edison, San Diego Gas and Electric, just to name a few. And what's notable about these companies is since they're investor owned, they're trying to make a profit within some limits set by the California government.
Now, you write that Governor Newsom historically was a proponent of rooftop solar, but now he's moving away from that, and he signed an executive order last year actually stating that rooftop solar is starting to increase the price of electricity. So tell us about the response to that.
Yeah, absolutely. There has been a lot of sharp criticism to that executive order from those in the environmental world and obviously in the rooftop world. One of my sources had some very choice words, which I won't repeat, about that executive order. But I think more importantly, a coalition of environmental economists responded to Newsom, and there was a subsequent report that went along with Newsom's executive order that backed up this reasoning. And they said, hey, your report is wrong. We did the math, and it actually looks like rooftop solar lessens the price for homeowners, for all Californians getting electricity.
Okay, so it's sort of like a little bit of industry infighting, it sounds like. You report that utility companies have actually been fighting for years to stop these rooftop solar incentives for homeowners. Just to drill down a little bit, can you reiterate why they would want to reduce rooftop solar and sort of are against people generating their own power?
Yeah, absolutely. So it would mess with their bottom line. Any sort of generation of energy that doesn't come from the utilities means that people aren't buying energy from the utilities. So that means less money to the utilities. So obviously they would be against it. Right now, the investor-owned utilities talk about something called price shift, saying that with all these people who are moving towards rooftop solar, there's less overall investment in grid infrastructure, meaning that the less amount of people who are paying for their electricity from the grid, all those prices are going to go up. And this is true to a very small extent. I've read a lot of papers. I spoke to several energy economists, but there was a study out of the Berkeley lab that said this quote unquote cost shift is no more than, it's actually less than the cost shift of folks choosing an energy efficient dishwasher or an energy efficient light bulb, those shifts. And people aren't as upset about that. So I think it's notable that obviously there's changes that happen when people opt to put solar on their roofs or opt to have more energy efficient appliances. But it's not at the scale, these economists are saying, that the utilities are asserting.
So if homeowners, let's say, were to have solar on their roofs, it sort of, I think you use the word in your report, decentralizes the utilities' power. What are these utility companies sort of proposing instead? Any changes on their end that they want to pursue, or just want to continue as things currently are for them and reduce the homeowner rooftop solar portion?
So utilities have always from the start been against rooftop solar. And there's been a couple policy changes that they've been in support of over the last couple years that I'll highlight. One of them in 2022, the Public Utilities Commission reduced how much the utilities had to pay homeowners with rooftop solar when they kind of sold their energy back into the grid. They reduced that by 75%, which has caused a reduction in how many homeowners are now getting solar. The reduction was for all new solar installations, not previous ones. It's a contract you sign, and that caused an immediate reduction in interest in solar. Now, there are a lot of reasons why adjusting that price, it's a price to be adjusted to incentivize other things like battery adoption, but it was quite a reduction. Other things like recent legislation proposed shortening the contracts with existing homeowners around how much they get repaid, but that didn't move forward.
Okay, the reduction by 75% less to the homeowners who are installing new solar, that's actually tied up in the California Supreme Court, right?
Yes, it is. It's being challenged right now. A series of environmental groups are saying that it didn't properly consider the benefits to consumers and disadvantaged communities who would benefit from a program that subsidizes clean energy. And honestly, the ruling's been expected for any day, for quite a few days for a while. It would shift the landscape of solar, I think, especially because of how the national conversation has gone down. We're losing this rebate nationally for rooftop solar, which adds additional pressure on the industry. So if the pricing reverts back to what it was, that re-incentivizes rooftop solar in California. If it stays to where it is now, it is a continued added pressure. So if it goes towards the side of the environmental groups asking for the reset, there would likely be a shift back in interest in rooftop solar adoption.
Mother Jones reporter Henry Carnell, thank you so much for breaking this down for us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And that is today's show. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. You can find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
These days, there's so much news, it can be hard to keep up with what it all means for you, your family, and your community. The Consider This podcast from NPR features our award-winning journalism. 6 days a week, we bring you a deep dive on a news story and provide the context and analysis that helps you make sense of the news. We get behind the headlines. We get to the truth. Listen to the Consider This podcast from NPR.